I married my husband 7 years ago. At the time, his sister was the only one with kids, and it was made clear to me that I was not an aunt, and I was made to feel like a stranger to sister-in-law's children by her own choice. She even taught her children that I'm not an aunt. So, as a result of this, I'm not close to them like I am my husband's other siblings' children, who are my nieces and nephews, and I'm their aunt. I believe I'm a fun and generous aunt. I spend time with my nieces and nephews. I've painted stuff in their rooms as gifts because I'm artsy. Sometimes I'll take them for fun little trips or buy them stuff. Even as a mom now, I like to do that because I love those kids and I never had a family, so it's nice to have people who want me. I don't do any of this with sister-in-law's kids. I don't even try to speak to them anymore when I'm at the same place as them because sister-in-law has made it such a big deal. It seemed like I was supposed to ignore them, so I wasn't going to start drama or cause trouble for them by interacting because I'm almost certain she told them not to talk to me. Now her kids are jealous and hurt that their cousins have cool paintings in their rooms or get to do XYZ and they don't. She came to me, reamed me out about it, and told me I was an idiot for making her kids feel that way. I told her that was her fault, not mine. That she set the tone, she made it so that I didn't relate to her kids, and thus her kids' hurt was her fault. I told her she reaped what she sowed, and her poor kids were the biggest victims of all of it. Of course, she's angry, and now she's all like, see, she's a bad person, and this is why I didn't want my kids to think of her as their aunt. The rest of their family are just rolling their eyes. But I know this didn't help. I also know it doesn't fix anything with her kids, who I do feel bad for. Am I the idiot? I feel guilty about making things potentially worse in all of this. She doesn't consider me related to her kids because I'm not her or her husband's sister, aka no blood or adoption relationship. Not the idiot, and the family is rolling their eyes at this lady's BS. If anyone said anything, I would go over the malicious compliance. I'd never undermine the decision of another mother, and when I was asked to step back from being an auntie those 7 or so years ago, it hurt, but I listened. I'm sorry that things are this way, but I had to respect her as a parent. I didn't draw the lines. But when she complained to OP should have said, I'm sorry, do I know you? But I wonder if sister-in-law was the only daughter between the siblings, and OP being the first other woman of their generation to marry into the family, triggered her. As time passed and the other bros got married and had children, she became less aggressive, but the damage was already done. The only reason sister-in-law regrets it is that OP turned out to be a fabulous auntie to other children, and sister-in-law is mad her own plan worked too well. Actions meet consequences. OP, you followed her instructions not to be their aunt. It sounds like the rest of the family knows she's a moron too. Everybody sucks here. You probably aren't telling the whole story about what BS is going on between you and your sister-in-law, but it's awful of both of you to put the kids in the crossfire. And what about your husband? Does he ignore his niece and nephew as well? Why is he not supporting either of you acting this way? I couldn't disagree more. The sister-in-law is the parent who made a choice to exclude OP and is now the one creating the crossfire because OP respected the boundaries sister-in-law put around her kids. Are you suggesting OP should have stomped on that boundary? I understand your empathy for her kids. Unfortunately, they get the short end of the stick because of their mom's behavior. But before you try to change anything with them, just first consider how your sister-in-law will respond. She may try to make any contact you have with them into something negative. Just know that you decide what to do next. My male 28 parents have never been together in my lifetime. My dad, 51, and stepmom, 50, have 2 kids, teen male, female 18. My mom, 52, and stepdad, 53, also have 3 kids, female 21, female 20, and teen male. They're all half-siblings technically, but I always regard them as my brothers and sisters. My parents live 1,000 miles plus apart, so there's only been twice in my life that I've had all my family together. Thankfully, my parents are on good terms though. My fiancée, female 34, and I are getting married on Sunday this Thanksgiving weekend. The date was decided 2 years ago and our parents were consulted. The rehearsal dinner is on Friday, 2 days before the wedding, and will be a traditional Thanksgiving dinner. This is as important to us as the actual wedding day, because the whole point was this would be the only Thanksgiving dinner with all of my parents and siblings together. The same thing on my fiancée's side. She also has a split family and has never had Thanksgiving with all of them together. My father has known this for the past 2 years. He's taken no real interest in the wedding though, has offered no financial help or help planning. A few times he's even had to ask me to remind him of the wedding date. That probably gives you a sense of how involved he's been. Despite this, I've kept him updated throughout the wedding planning. Traditionally, the groom's family hosts the rehearsal dinner, but since my father didn't offer, we're hosting. And I never expected my mother to host since she lives much further away from me. Invitations went out to all our guests about 6 weeks ago. So today, my father called to tell me that my sister's high school graduation is on the same night as my wedding rehearsal, so they won't be attending my rehearsal dinner. I was stunned. Where I went to school, graduation was always in the summer. He explained that at her school it's always Thanksgiving weekend. I didn't say anything. I was in such shock. I wanted to shout, "If graduation is always Thanksgiving weekend, then why didn't you tell me this 2 years ago when we were deciding dates?" I ended the conversation quickly without saying much more than "thanks for letting me know," but after processing it, I'm so angry. I feel betrayed. After 2 years of talking about my wedding, how did none of them, my father, stepmother, sister or brother, bring this up before now, after all the invitations have been sent, vendors booked, plans made? Maybe I'm being petty and ridiculous, but since they knew graduation at her school is always Thanksgiving weekend and said nothing for 2 years about the conflict, it's their mess up, and they should stick to their commitment to attend the rehearsal dinner. Would I be the idiot for asking them to skip my sister's high school graduation ceremony to attend my wedding rehearsal? Yeah, you would be the idiot, because you're not hurting your parents nor step-parents. You'd be hurting your sister, who is entirely innocent in this. Plus, it's just a rehearsal. It's not like they're missing the wedding itself. You can reschedule a rehearsal more easily than forcing a high school to reschedule a graduation ceremony. Info. Have you asked your sister when her graduation is being held? Have you Googled her school and made sure he's telling the truth? I've never heard of a graduation Thanksgiving weekend. Ever. High schools generally only have one ceremony at the end of the school year. If you graduate early, you usually don't walk unless you want to walk with everyone else in May or June. So I don't believe a high school would ever hold a graduation ceremony on Thanksgiving weekend. The teachers would riot. They would never give up their break. Thanksgiving falls in the autumn for all countries that celebrate it. Where the heck does the school year end at that time of year? I feel like that makes it worse though. If Dad is telling the truth, OP is right to be furious that they neither planned nor informed. But if OP has to do detective work and then finds out they lied, that's a whole other level of BS. You can't win this one, but like many people, I'm wondering what high school graduates at Thanksgiving, unless it's an alternative school or an early or late graduation at the end of a term leading into the holiday break. Even if the date slipped your dad's stepmom's minds, wouldn't they be planning a little party for your sister and invite you as well? Clearly, they were not thinking about you and your wedding. Try not to waste any more energy on hashing it out with them, as their actions have spoken for them. Don't meet any excuses or justifications with fury, ultimatums, or dramatic grandstands. Sometimes we can't get the kind of love we want. I, 24 male, used to live in a 4-bedroomed house with 2.5 other roommates, Bree, 22 female, Jay, male toddler, Alex, 27 male. Now Bree is a single mother working in a customer support job, and Alex is a paramedic. Alex and I are not the biological father of Bree's son. I don't know who is, but from what Bree says, he's an idiot and deserves to be 6 feet under. I moved out of the house since I've switched companies and make twice as much as I used to, and have decided to live by myself. So a few days ago, I got a message from Bree saying that she needs child support money. I thought it was a joke and assumed she sent it to the wrong person, so I said, "LOL girl, wrong number." She then said, "No, my name, I'm serious. I need child support money right now to pay for blah blah blah." I then told Bree that I would not pay child support money as I'm not her baby daddy, but if she needs to borrow money then we can work something out, but she will pay me back. She then wrote multiple paragraphs of texts saying that her son imprinted on me and considers me a father and that I need to be a good role model for him. I left her messages on read and immediately messaged Alex about what was going on with screenshots, and he was also bewildered. She hasn't talked to him about money yet, but I thoroughly warned him, so he's staying at his sister's house for now. She's still blowing up my phone and threatening a lawsuit for child support and has been calling me all kinds of things. I feel terrible since I care about her son, and he's literally a baby, but I am in no way or shape his father or have any kind of responsibility to him. I know she doesn't make much and is living paycheck to paycheck, and I'm open to lending her money, but this makes me feel incredibly weird. Am I the idiot for not giving child support? What? This is freaking genius. I will find a rich man for my kids to imprint on. Not the idiot, OP, and cut this unstable woman from your life. I wouldn't lend her any money based on her twisted sense of entitlement. A judge will laugh her out of court if she attempts to go to court for this. My God, ask her to Google what child support means. It sucks that she's a struggling single mom, but she should be sending these messages to the actual dad, or even his parents, not her former roommates. She's broke, financially and mentally, it would seem. She found out he makes more money now and she thinks he's a bank. She thought she could guilt him into paying with the imprinting bit, but I guess she had to look that up. She's a few crayons short of a full box. OP, please don't lend her money either. If she's threatening a lawsuit, she could use that money you lent her as some sort of child support agreement. Keep your status as roommate status. You do not owe her anything. I understand this will be hard, being there's a kid involved, but she needs to take that up with the court and her baby daddy, not you. Just piggybacking here, giving her money, even just lending it, could land OP in hot water. It could be construed that he feels a sense of obligation to her and the child, which could be twisted in court. There is precedence in some places where someone who's not biologically related to a child is on the hook for child support if it's seen that they've supported the child previously. I'm not saying that that's what will happen, but if we go by her mental gymnastics, it's not a big stretch to worry that giving money could be twisted as such. OP is not the idiot, but needs to be careful. I, 35 male, grew up with my best friend and his wife Amanda. She was always a friend of mine, but I've always been closer to her husband. Unfortunately, they moved out of town years ago, and they only come for funerals, weddings, and other family-related events. A few months ago, Amanda came to town to attend her sister-in-law's, my best friend's sister, bachelorette party. Her sister-in-law is a very nice and bubbly person, but she's always treated Amanda poorly out of jealousy or something. I don't know. Amanda wasn't too thrilled about the trip, but she had to come because she was one of the bridesmaids. So I offered to pick her up from the airport and take her out for drinks afterward to help her calm her nerves. Well, I was an idiot and I forgot to add it to my calendar. I scheduled a date with this girl that night, and that morning Amanda texted me and asked if we were still on. I freaked out and apologized. I couldn't cancel the date because I'd already paid for the show tickets. So I got the sister-in-law's best friend to pick up Amanda and bring her to the hotel. 2 days later, I took Amanda out for drinks. She was feeling very down because her sister-in-law mistreated her at the bachelorette party and everyone else ignored her. I spent a few hours with her just drinking and chatting, and then I got a text from my girlfriend. She wanted me to come over to her apartment, so I got a mutual friend to come to the bar and keep Amanda company, then I left. After that, Amanda stopped talking to me. She won't reply to my texts or social media messages. It's been 3 months, and I finally asked my best friend about the deal with his wife. He gave me a litany of complaints Amanda had about me, like I forget her birthday all the time, she's not on Facebook, and I get birthday reminders there. And the last straw was me forgetting to pick her up at the airport and ditching her at the bar. I told my friend that I'm very absent-minded and they should have known that already. I said Amanda is overly sensitive and she needs to stop holding grudges. I already apologized to her for everything. I don't know what more she wants. My best friend got angry and now he's not talking to me too. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. So you ditched your friend twice and now wonder why she's not talking to you, and you think she's too sensitive? You made plans with her and then dropped her twice to do something you'd rather be doing. You showed her by your actions that you don't value her as a friend. I'd stop talking to you too. You treated Amanda poorly multiple times and she's finally had enough. You don't get to mistreat people and expect them to get over it. It's a major red flag that your first instinct isn't to apologize to Amanda, but to say she's the problem. You messed up again and again, not her. Sorry, dude, but you are the idiot. You're making excuses. You grew up with them, so that's years. Her birthday is the same day every year, and you have a phone, right? Or a calendar. All of those can be used to mark her birthday. You ditched her twice in one trip while she was feeling down. Really? You don't see something wrong with that, especially after you forgot her at the airport? Man, that's horrible. This happened this weekend. I, 28 female, have been married to my husband, 30, for 6 years. We don't have any children. This weekend we were visiting his family. He's the oldest among his siblings, with 9 of them, 6 brothers and 3 sisters in total, the youngest being a teen. Everyone lives with their partners or roommates in rented or owned accommodation except the youngest and 2 brothers, 23 and 26. Every other weekend they all come around my mother-in-law's house together with their partners, so 16 people this weekend, including my father-in-law and mother-in-law. Unfortunately, my mother-in-law wasn't feeling well on Sunday, so she stayed in her bedroom to rest. She normally does all the cooking in the house. When we visit her, we make sure we also go shopping and buy groceries and snacks for the family. I also ensure I get separate food for myself as I have a lot of allergies, intolerances and dietary requirements. Most of the time it's not an issue as I just put my food in the oven when the cooking is almost done or eat later. Sunday morning came and I was about to make myself some breakfast when all my in-laws and their partners started moaning that they were hungry, including my husband. He can cook and does it well. I have reminded them that they know where the fridge and oven are, but apparently they were too difficult to find. So they begged me to cook something for them, and I had no choice but to agree, expecting them to help since, they're adults. It took me 3 hours to prepare food for them, and they were moaning about having food at different times or the food getting cold. It was simple eggs with bacon and some toast. After I finished and started making food for myself, all I wanted was to eat as I was super hungry and have a nap somewhere as I was exhausted from all that cooking. Halfway through my meal, one of my sisters-in-law approached me and asked why I was making more food and not washing the dishes. I was taken aback and asked if she seriously wanted me to wash the massive pile of dishes and pans after all this cooking when at least 15 other adults in the house were perfectly capable of doing it. My sister-in-law informed me that whoever does the cooking must do the dishes in their house. I got annoyed as I just started eating my food and was super tired. I told her and my other in-laws that it's no wonder their mum isn't feeling well after doing all the work around the house and getting no help from her adult children. I put my breakfast in a takeaway box, packed my bags, and left the house to drive home as I was still expected to do the dishes. My husband stayed behind and hasn't returned. He and his siblings are calling me an idiot for driving away and leaving the dishes undone. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. And frankly, I'd be talking to your husband and saying that this made you realize how incredibly rude all of you were being to his mother. Everyone should have cleaned the kitchen for mother-in-law way before this, insisting she gets a break. Weird that it took 3 hours to make simple bacon and eggs, so maybe a bit of exaggeration from OP, but I still wouldn't be the idiot for not doing 15 plus people's dishes after cooking for them all. What kind of logic is that? If you're kind enough to cook a meal for us all, you better clean up after too. It's outrageous that nobody even offered honestly, and to demand you do it when you finally sit down to eat after everyone else. Yikes! You don't need to apologize to anyone, but it might make sense to call your mother-in-law and explain the circumstances to her. I bet she got lumbered with the washing up, poor woman. Not the idiot, and it sounds like your mother-in-law and father-in-law raised a bunch of dependent and incapable children who aren't self-sufficient. How do they survive on their own? And they couldn't even appreciate what you do? This family sounds very entitled and like a misogynistic one from the 50s.